Well, comparisons between President Trump and Adolf Hitler are lame and historically absurd, but people keep making them. There's a whole cable channel for it, actually. Patrisse Cullors is one of the 3 co-founders of Black Lives Matter, apparently because she lacks better rhetorical points. She said President Trump is just like Hitler, right down to seeking to exterminate millions of people. Watch this.
We wouldn't, as a movement, take a seat at the table with Trump because we wouldn't have done that with Hitler. Trump is literally the epitome of evil. All the evils of this country, be it racism, capitalism, sexism, homophobia, resist him, and to resist every single policy that he's implemented that impacts our communities. And I think if I'm thinking about what I want my children to know in 30, 40, 50 years, I want them to know that I resisted a president at all costs, because this president literally tried to kill our communities.
LaDawn Jones is a Democratic strategist, and she joins us tonight. Thanks for coming on, LaDawn. So I'm watching that, and I'm thinking that we're not really in the realm of political debate here. That's what extremism looks like. I mean, if by definition, if you really believe someone is Hitler, you wouldn't debate his policies. You'd do what Dietrich Bonhoeffer tried to do. You'd try to take him out by force. So, do you think she really means that when she says he's like Hitler?
She absolutely means it, and I completely agree with her. You know, Trump's policies have been ratcheting up over the time of him running his campaign until now, just recently with him pardoning the Arizona sheriff. It is becoming very concerning, and people like Black Lives Matter and the other folks who are watching and have known that he would be a problem have the right to teach and get people prepared to resist him at all costs. Now, we are still a democracy, so we're not going to try to remove him from office by force, but we are certainly not going to allow him to ruin our country, which we believe is his plan.
What does that mean at all costs, though? I mean, what does that mean? It obviously doesn't mean at all costs, right? I mean, you're engaging in overstatement, I assume.
It may be overstatement, but let's be very honest about what all costs means. That means we have to make sure that we have people at our local and state levels that are going to combat some of these Trump-like policies. We're going to make sure that even though he is encouraging the police to hurt individuals who have not even been adjudicated guilty, that we teach people in our communities that that will not be accepted. That is at all costs. We will not allow him to take over our media by trying to scapegoat them and all the other minorities in the community. We are going to fight back. That is at all costs.
Hold on. So hold on. The media is a minority group now?
No. Let me be clear. He both scapegoats the media and he scapegoats minority groups separately, but both of those things were characteristics that Hitler used in order to have his reign during his regime. He tried to make it as though all the Jews were the reason why Germans could not succeed, just like Trump tries to say that all the minorities and the immigrants are the reason why Americans can't have jobs.
I mean, without getting into some like deep history conversation, I get it.
Because of bad news and fake news.
Right. He says things you disagree with, for sure, but did Hitler have a lot of media against him in Germany after he took power? Did he have people like you going on TV calling him names? Was there any opposition to Hitler allowed in public?
Well, what Hitler did is first he changed everybody's ideology, and then after he did that, he then only limited to certain media outlets that he himself would allow for people to learn from. And that's exactly what we see Trump trying to do. He's trying to make it so that people don't trust the media. And once they don't trust the media, now he's making his own Trump television so that he can put out all of his rhetoric, and the people who are following him are going to believe him. And those are the kind of people that Hitler used to take over.
Okay. Let's ask you a question. So I assume it's an article of faith with you and with many others in Black Lives Matter that Trump is a bigot. If you found out that Trump or any of his supporters had a meeting or a party and excluded people who were not white from that event, what would you say about that?
Then I would say for Trump, that's probably par for the course. I would not be surprised if Trump has already had several meetings in which he excludes people who are not of color. You can look at the pictures of his roundtable, of his interns, of everyone who he has
just to be clear,
with the exception of Omarosa and Ben Carlson. He pretty much has already done that.
So, I mean, there's no evidence for what you said, but we know for a fact that Black Lives Matter across the country in a bunch of different cities, this is not speculation, it's a fact, they've said it, they've talked about it, has excluded people who weren't black. Why is that not racist? If you're an anti-racist organization, why are you excluding people on the basis of their skin color?
I don't know which Black Lives Matter events you've gone to, but I've gone to several Black Lives Matter protests, and there are people of all colors, races, and origins.
In Philadelphia, in New York, in Nashville.
Hold on,
slow down. No, hold on. No, the Black Lives Matter Twitter account said very clearly it referred to specific events as, quote, black only. There were a bunch of news stories about that. I'm not making this up. I've done interviews about it before. But it gets to a core question, which is how can you be against racism while committing it? It's a definition of racism to prevent people from coming to something based on how they look, based on their race. I think you would agree with that. You already did agree with that. So how can Black Lives Matter commit racism and be against it at the same time?
I don't believe Black Lives Matter commits racism. I do believe that they make a platform for African Americans to be able to have discussion about things that are important to them. But let's say the most important difference between Black Lives Matter: they're not elected president of the United States.
They're not, and I'm not saying they are. I'm not saying they have as much power as Trump or anything like that. I'm just saying, in New York City, there was a black-only Memorial Day party. Same thing in Philadelphia. Again, Detroit and Nashville. The leadership on your social media was asked, is it black only? Yes, it is. They said that, yes, it's black only. That seems like the textbook dictionary definition of racism. How can you be involved in a group that does that? That's my question to you. And please give me a real answer.
Again, you know, I can't speak to the Memorial Day event that you're discussing, but
it's not just one event; it's a bunch. I'm sure, but there are specific events from which people have been excluded based on their race. And isn't that what racism is? I'm against that. I thought you were too. Why would you be part of a group that did that?
You know, I won't say that they have, because I wasn't there. What I will say is that the actual Black Lives Matter events that I have participated in, that I have direct knowledge and experience with, every single time there were people of every shade and color across the rainbow that were there supporting what Black Lives Matter is about. See, what you're trying to do is make Black Lives Matter.
I'm not trying to do anything other than report what is factually true, and I don't want you to skip out on answering a really important question, which is it wrong to exclude people on the basis of their race? Yes or no? Is that racism or is it not?
If you are excluding people based on their race with the intent of trying to subject the other races to some type of harm, danger, to subject them to systemic racism, exclude them, then yes, it's a problem.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it's absolutely about your intent.
Okay.
Why doesn't it?
All right,
you know, see, that's the problem. You want to compare races.
Right. You just don't want to take accountability for what is clearly racist. Thanks for joining us tonight, LaDawn. Seattle's $25 gun tax was supposed to fix violent crime. A lot of people thought it would happen. Weirdly, shootings went up. Now, some are saying they ought to double the tax. Will that work? We'll talk to a supporter of it next.